What's going on, everybody? So today is my last day of summer, which means I'm going back to school tomorrow and I'm not going to have quite as much time as I have in the past to make videos. So I thought today it'd be really cool to bring you guys a video that I've wanted to make for a really long time, and that is my Blu-ray collection. Since I started this channel in 2016, this is something that I've always wanted to do, just to give you guys an idea of what some of my favorite movies are and all the movies that I own, and just kind of an excuse for me to talk about a whole bunch of movies, because there's a lot in here if you don't already know. Also, I figured now is just a better time as any because I just got 100 subscribers on my channel. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all you guys for watching my videos and supporting my content. I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad I'm able to do this and connect with so many people through my love of movies. So just thank you all so much for doing that. But anyway, this is going to take a pretty long time, so let's get into it. You'll notice this is a different room. This is my playroom. This is where I watch all my movies, play all my video games. I spend a lot of time up here, if you can't already tell. My dad also plays drums in here. There's some vinyl records on the wall, and this is where I keep my PS4 and my Nintendo Switch. But it's also the room where I keep all these movies that you see behind me. So I'm going to attempt to tell you something interesting about each of these, but we'll see what happens. 10 Cloverfield Lane was a movie that surprised the hell out of me, because when I saw the marketing, I didn't really know what it was, and I wasn't really interested in it, but it had me on the edge of my seat from start to finish. It was so intense. 500 Days of Summer. I love this movie. I try to make a point to watch it every year because I just love the way Mark Webb directed this movie, and I thought it has a really interesting way of telling its story. And yeah, it's probably one of my favorite romances. 2001: A Space Odyssey. I actually just saw this in an IMAX theater the other day, which was really cool. I love this movie. It's definitely one of my favorite Stanley Kubrick films. Across the Universe isn't really the best film in my opinion, but being the huge Beatles fan that I am, this movie got a lot of things right. Akira, or Akira, or however you say it. You guys are going to see a lot of anime in this collection. If you don't already know, I'm a huge fan of anime. Anyway, Akira is a really cool movie. It's just a really fun post-apocalyptic cyberpunk kind of film. And when you take into account that every frame in this movie is hand-drawn, it's really mind-blowing. Alien and Aliens, two of my favorite science fiction films, probably two of my favorite movies of all time. I'd probably say I like Alien a little bit more than Aliens, but that's just me though. Another terrific science fiction film, Annihilation, is a movie that I never got the chance to talk about on my channel, but I really wish I did, because I think this is one of the most underrated movies of the year. It's one of the best science fiction films I've seen in a long time, and it has amazing performances from Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, and all the rest of the cast. Ant-Man is a movie that I enjoy watching from time to time. It's not one of my favorite Marvel films because it's really inconsequential and kind of weightless when compared to the other movies. That being said, I really like Paul Rudd as this character, and it has some really cool action sequences. Apocalypse Now is one of the best war movies I've ever seen. I remember seeing this for the first time, and I was literally not able to sleep because of how much it impacted me. Argo is a movie that I haven't seen in a really long time. The only reason I own it is because it was on sale at like this home video store where I live, and I picked it up because I felt like I should watch it again. So I can't really give you a verdict on it, but I'm definitely going to try to watch this in the future. Arrival is probably one of the best alien invasion movies that I've ever seen. It is a beautifully directed film from Denis Villeneuve, and it has some amazing cinematography. The Artist. No one really talks about this movie, but it's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. This is one of the first films where I saw it in a theater and I really took into account how films are made. The fact that there's a director and producers and actors and screenwriters and all the work that goes into making a film. And it's just one of the most memorable experiences that I've had with a movie. The Avengers trilogy. It's kind of weird calling it that because there's so many movies that happen in between all of them. But anyway, I really love the first one. I don't love it as much as other people do. I think it's probably one of the best Marvel movies, but I don't think it's the best Marvel movie. Age of Ultron kind of felt like a product to me, and it was a little disappointing, but it does have some really cool action. And Avengers Infinity War, you guys already know how much I love. Baby Driver is a really awesome movie from Edgar Wright. It's got some great performances all around, and some of the best car chase sequences I've ever seen in film. The Back to the Future trilogy, one of the few steelbooks I own. I love the design of it. I think it looks really cool. But anyway, I love these movies. I mean, even though the second and third aren't as good as the first one, they're still really fun movies, and I enjoy them for what they are. The first one is an absolute classic. Alright, now let's talk Batman. I own Batman and Batman Returns, the two Michael Keaton films. I really like these movies, even though I don't think they quite nailed the character, because they're really whimsical, and they still have that Tim Burton kind of trademark on them. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Do I even need to stress why this is like one of the best trilogies ever? I just watched it again recently, and all three of them are absolutely fantastic. Batman The Dark Knight Returns, parts 1 and 2. This is the only Batman animated film that I own. I definitely want to pick up Mask of the Phantasm at some point, but I'll probably just get that with the shipment of the animated series. It's coming out on Blu-ray in like October. But anyway, This is a really cool movie. If you like the Dark Knight Returns graphic novel, then it's really cool seeing all the panels played out on the big screen. And please don't kill me, but I also own Batman v Superman. I know this is a bad movie. There are things that I do really like about it though. Like, I thought Ben Affleck as Batman was great. I thought it was really cool seeing Wonder Woman in this movie. There's some things that I think really worked, but there's a lot that really didn't. Pretty much the only reason I own this is because I really wanted to see that extended cut with the 30 minutes of extra footage. And it fixed some things, but it didn't really fix the movie overall. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge Batman fan, and there's some cool Batman moments in this movie. Birdman is kind of overrated, in my opinion. I think this movie got a lot more attention than it deserved. That being said, there are some really indisputably great things about it, like all the performances and the camera work and the cinematography. Black Panther is kind of an average Marvel movie. I think this movie also got a lot more attention than it deserved. But that being said, there are some really good things about it, like Killmonger as the villain, probably one of the best that we've ever had. And it has some really cool social commentary. Blade Runner is a film that demands multiple viewings. I still feel like I need to watch it again to be able to process it all. But it does have some of the best cinematography and production design that I've ever seen in a movie. Blade Runner 2049, however, I think is the best science fiction film that we've had in years. It is one of the best looking films I've ever seen. Roger Deakins' cinematography is absolutely breathtaking. The performances from Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford, and the story also really surprised me. Honestly, the more that I think about it, this is probably one of my favorite movies. I just love everything about it. The Bourne trilogy, some really exciting spy action thrillers. I love all three of these movies. I don't own Legacy or Jason Bourne, and can't you tell why? Braveheart is a film that I've never seen, but I just picked it up recently and I really want to watch it. That's going to happen with some of these other films in this collection, just so you know. Call Me By Your Name is a masterpiece, in my opinion. It has beautiful direction from Luca Guadagnino, amazing performances from Armie Hammer, Timothée Chalamet, and especially Michael Stuhlbarg. I'm surprised he wasn't even nominated for an Oscar for this movie. All three Captain America films. This is a series that I feel got better with every entry in the franchise. First Avenger is fine. I like some things about it, but it's definitely not the best Marvel movie. However, Winter Soldier and Civil War, I honestly can't pick which one I like more, but the two of them are probably my favorite Marvel movies. Casino Royale is definitely my favorite Bond movie. I love how this film completely changed everything you know about the character, and it made for some really awesome moments, and it has some of the best action sequences in the entire franchise. Castaway is a really good movie. I need to watch this again. Castle in the Sky, the first Studio Ghibli movie that I own in my collection. I love this movie. It's so great. It's a really beautiful story. Catch Me If You Can is a terrific Spielberg film that I think not enough people talk about, so if you haven't seen this movie, definitely go check it out. Cloverfield is a movie that I picked up recently, but I've actually never seen it. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Just gonna put that back in there. Let's get on to the next thing. Coco is a really touching animated movie. The only reason I own this is because we were having a party in one of my classes at school, and they wanted us to bring in a movie, so I just brought this in. But yeah, I really like it. It's not one of my favorite Pixar movies, but it is one that I like watching from time to time. Cowboy Bebop, the complete series, one of my favorite shows ever. If you've never gotten into anime, you should definitely check this out because it's a great one to start with. Anyway, this show has terrific animation, incredible action, and really good characters. I love watching it. Creed is a movie that nobody thought was going to be good, but it proved all of us wrong. I think this is one of the best films that have come out in the last few years. Michael B. Jordan is absolutely terrific in this role, and Sylvester Stallone, the guy just brought tears to my eyes. Deadpool and Deadpool 2, I really enjoy both of these movies. The second one's definitely not quite as good as the first one. The first one's one of my favorite comic book movies ever. But from a screenplay perspective, yeah, the second one definitely falls short on some things. It's still funnier than the first one, I think. It makes me laugh more consistently. Anyway, these films are one of the most faithful adaptations of a comic book character to screen that I think we've ever had. Probably my favorite Martin Scorsese movie, The Departed. Definitely one of the best mobster movies ever made, and some of the best dialogue that I've ever heard. Die Hard. How on earth could I not own this? This is one of the best action movies ever made. I think we're showing a screening of it at my local theater in like November, so I'll definitely go to that. The Disaster Artist is a hilarious, heartwarming, inspirational tribute to The Room. It's a film about Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero's friendship throughout the making of this movie, but also making it in the film industry and what it takes to follow your dreams. And it's just really awesome. This movie is also very funny. Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained, some amazing performances all around and terrific writing. Dragon Ball Z Season 1, I only own this season of the show, which is pretty weird, but I found it at Best Buy and I really wanted to check it out. So I picked it up there and I just haven't gotten around to watching the rest of it, but this is a really fun show from what I've seen. Drive, in my opinion, is one of the best movies ever made. If you've never seen it or you've never heard anything about it, Definitely go check it out. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I just want you to go in as fresh as possible. Dumb and Dumber is one of my favorite comedies, if not my favorite comedy. Terrific performances from Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Very funny, very well made. Edge of Tomorrow is a movie that deserved better. Not enough people saw this movie, but it was so original. It has some terrific action sequences. Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt are great in this movie, and Doug Liman's direction was phenomenal. Fight Club is a film that I've never seen, so yeah, that sucks. David Fincher is one of my favorite directors, so I've really been meaning to check this out. It was like $5 online, so I picked it up, but yeah, I'll check it out at some point. My mama always said life is like a box of chocolates. Forrest Gump, one of the best performances of all time. Another anime, Ghost in the Shell. This was one of the first animes that became like a mainstream hit in America. It had a huge influence on some action films like The Matrix. It's a really interesting movie. You should definitely check it out. Ghostbusters is a really fun movie. One of my favorite films from the 80s. Gladiator, some really awesome direction from Ridley Scott and some great performances from Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. The Godfather trilogy. The first and second are two of my favorite movies ever made. I haven't seen the first one. I've only heard mediocre things, but I'll probably check it out at some point. But the first two films are like the gangster movies. Gone Girl was a film that showed us that David Fincher still knows how to direct riveting, intense, suspenseful movies. I love this film. Probably one of the best thrillers that we've had in recent memory. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Virtually every single sequence in this movie is iconic. It is the best Western of all time. You can't make a Western nowadays without being compared to this film. Although it'll never be as cool as it was in theaters, Gravity is a movie that I really enjoy. It has some of the best visual effects that I've ever seen. And it was one of the best theater experiences that I've ever had. I got chills watching this movie the first time. Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. These are some of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. The first one's definitely one of the best Marvel movies. The second one I also really enjoyed. It has some great character moments. I'm really sad that James Gunn's not coming back for the third one, but, you know. What are you gonna do? Hacksaw Ridge, Andrew Garfield gave the performance of his career in this movie. Also some really surprisingly great performances from the rest of the cast. And this is probably some of the best directed war action that I've ever seen in my life. All 8 Harry Potter films. I love these movies. I grew up with them. It's definitely one of my favorite film franchises ever, and I'd probably say the last one is the best one, but all 8 of them are excellent. The Hateful Eight is a really fun movie from Quentin Tarantino. It is the perfect movie to watch on a snow day if you're like stuck inside and you can't do anything and it's really dark outside. Definitely watch this movie because it's like really fun. Also, I love this Blu-ray. It like folds out like that. It's got a little design of Minnie's haberdashery. It's pretty cool. Heat. Amazing performances from Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and some of the best dialogue that these ears have ever heard. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug is the only Hobbit movie worth owning, the only one worth talking about, in my opinion. This movie is really fun. It kind of combined everything I love about the Lord of the Rings movies and put it into one kind of smaller film. How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2. Probably the best thing that DreamWorks has ever done, and I know they made Shrek, yeah, but I just love these movies. They're really fun kids movies, but they're also very mature films. Howl's Moving Castle is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films. It's absolutely beautiful. It has some great animation, and it's a really good story. One of my favorite movies of all time, Inception. One of the best action thrillers ever made. Some incredible direction from Christopher Nolan. The guy is a genius. Incredibles might be my favorite Pixar movie. I don't know, it's always like between that or maybe like Toy Story 3. But this movie just got everything right. No film collection is complete without the Indiana Jones series. I own all 4 of them on Blu-ray. This is a really nice collection. I love the look of it. I'll just open it up for you. Got that. Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of my favorite movies of all time. Temple of Doom is also a very underrated movie in my opinion. I think a lot of people were kind of turned off by it because Spielberg wanted to make like a very different kind of movie. And I think it really paid off. I really like this movie. Last Crusades, also one of my favorite movies of all time. And then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, and then there's the bonus features. Yeah, it's a really cool little collection. It's one of my favorite movie series ever. Inglourious Basterds is one of Tarantino's best films in my opinion. The dialogue in this movie is so good. Inside Out was probably Pixar's best film since Toy Story 3. This movie had my face welling up with tears. It was so emotional and it's such a great concept. Interstellar. This is a movie that I have a weird relationship with. It was like one of my most anticipated movies ever. I was so excited for it before it came out because Christopher Nolan's like one of my favorite directors. But I still think this movie is a little bit too complex for its own good. That being said, there are some things that are indisputably great about it, like Matthew McConaughey's performance, the visuals, the cinematography, Hans Zimmer's score. It's undeniably a really good movie, but it's just one of the few Christopher Nolan movies that I don't love because I feel like it's a little bit too complex, but it is a really good watch. The Iron Man trilogy. The first Iron Man is definitely one of the best Marvel movies. The second one is okay. I think it's better than people give it credit for, but a lot of the dialogue in it kind of feels like improv and like not in a good way. But Iron Man 3, I actually kind of like Iron Man 3. I thought Shane Black did a lot of really cool stuff with it, and you could sense his own voice in that movie, which was really cool given that it was a big Marvel blockbuster. Jaws. Hollywood has been obsessed with shark movies ever since this film came out, and none of them have near matched the greatness of this film. This is one of the best movies ever made. John Wick was such a surprise for me. This movie is so much fun. It has a great performance from Keanu Reeves, probably one of his best in years. And it's just such a straightforward, hardcore action movie that knew what it was, and it was so entertaining. The Jurassic Park collection, this is all 4 movies that are currently out on Blu-ray, starting with Jurassic Park, one of my favorite movies of all time. And then it also has Jurassic Park 3D. I never watch it because I don't have a 3D TV. But anyway, The Lost World, which I actually think is a really good movie. It's another one of those cases where Spielberg was trying to make a very different film, and a lot of people were turned off by it, but I thought he did a really good job with it. And then we have Jurassic Park 3. It's pretty terrible. And then we have Jurassic World. I think it's okay. It's got some fun moments. It has that nice sense of wonder that I like in the Jurassic Park series, but yeah. It's got a nice little set of the posters on the back. Now granted, this isn't really the best collection. The first one's the only amazing movie out of all these. But I still like watching all of them from time to time. Kingsman: The Secret Service is a very fun movie that kind of came out of nowhere for me. I thought Matthew Vaughn did a really good job with the direction. The action is fantastic, especially in that church scene. La La Land is a beautifully directed musical, probably one of the best I've ever seen. It has amazing performances from Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and it's just a beautiful looking movie. Lady Bird is a film that I feel hit every emotion I have. I absolutely adore everything about this movie. Saoirse Ronan gave one of the best performances that I've seen in a long time, and it was such a heartwarming story, and I really love watching this film. Logan is a super awesome movie. I love how this movie felt more like a Western than a superhero film, and I thought James Mangold did a really good job with it. It was a beautiful send-off for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Looper is a really original science fiction thriller. It's probably the best thing Bruce Willis has done in a long time. And I thought Rian Johnson did a really awesome job with this movie. Of course, I own the Lord of the Rings trilogy, 3 of my favorite movies of all time. Return of the King is definitely the best one. Then I'd probably say Fellowship of the Ring and then Two Towers. I mean, these are some of the best fantasy epics, actually the best fantasy epics that have ever been made. You can't make a fantasy movie anymore and not be compared to these films. Mad Max Fury Road, one of the best action movies of all time. Manchester by the Sea is a film with a really good screenplay and some amazing performances from Casey Affleck, Michelle Williams, Lucas Hedges. The Matrix is one of my favorite action movies. I really love this movie and I've been meaning to watch it again. And of course, I own all 5 Mission Impossible films. Let's see if I can get all of them on the screen. Yeah, there we go. I really love these movies. It's one of my favorite movie franchises ever. The second one's not really that good, but all the other ones I really enjoy. The 4th one is definitely the best out of all these. I will definitely be buying Fallout when it comes out because it was so awesome. Moonlight is a masterpiece. There's no other way to put it. It has some amazing performances from all 3 of the main actors, and it's some incredible direction from Barry Jenkins. And this is a film that really left an impact on me. I could not stop thinking about it once I left the theater. My Neighbor Totoro is a really fun Studio Ghibli movie. It's definitely more of a family film than any of the other ones that they've done, but it's still really fun. I'm actually seeing it in theater next month, so that should be fun. The Nice Guys. Not enough people saw this movie. This is an absolutely fantastic buddy cop story. It's got some great, hilarious, witty writing from Shane Black. And it's just the epitome of what Shane Black does best, and if you haven't seen it, you definitely should check it out. Paddington 2, I don't own the first one simply because it's on Netflix, and I don't like it near as much as I like this movie, so I can just watch it whenever I feel like it. But anyway, this movie surprised the hell out of me. It's such a cut above your average family film, and it's really fun. Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl, another case where this is the only one worth owning and the only one worth talking about in my opinion. I love this movie. It's incredibly exciting, and it's such a fun pirate adventure. And it also has one of the best character performances of all time from Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Predator is a really fun movie. It's just the epitome of 80s action cheese, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. I'm kind of excited for the next one, but like, I don't know, it could be terrible, but we'll see. The Prestige is one of Christopher Nolan's more overlooked films. Not quite as much as Insomnia, but I just feel like not enough people talk about this movie. It's such an enthralling story about magicians. And it's got some really great performances from Hugh Jackman, Scarlett Johansson, and Christian Bale. The Princess Bride, I don't really know why I own this. I think I picked it up a long time ago because it was cheap or something. But anyway, it's fun. I don't know. I like watching it from time to time. Princess Mononoke is one of my favorite films from Studio Ghibli. It has a really great story, some really interesting messages about mankind and humanity and the way we treat Mother Nature. And it also has some beautiful animation, as you'd come to expect with Studio Ghibli. Pulp Fiction is my favorite film from Quentin Tarantino. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. All this movie is people talking and having conversations, but they're so well written, and the dialogue is so enthralling that it keeps you locked in every second it's on. The Revenant. Should Leo have won the Oscar for this movie? I don't know, he probably should have gotten it sooner. But that being said, he does give a great performance in this film, and this movie has some of the most jaw-dropping, beautiful cinematography I've ever seen. The Planet of the Apes trilogy. This is another case where each film in the franchise got better and better, in my opinion at least. Yeah, I like Rise of the Planet of the Apes a lot, but I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is like 10 times better than that one. And then War for the Planet of the Apes just floored me. I could not believe how good that movie was. And in my opinion, they're just everything modern day blockbusters should be. They tell mature, complex stories with some characters that you can really latch onto. The Road Warrior is a really fun movie with some really incredible chase sequences. I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. The Room is pretty awful, but I get more enjoyment out of watching this movie than like 90% of the movies behind me. It's just a one-of-a-kind experience. It is so bad that it's good. Saving Private Ryan, one of those war movies that just got everything right. It has such a sense of realism. It makes you feel like you're really there when you're watching some of the sequences. Shaun of the Dead is probably my favorite Edgar Wright film. This movie is so funny. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are fantastic. And it's such a witty spoof of zombie movies. The Shawshank Redemption. I cannot say anything about this movie that hasn't already been said. It's one of the best ever. Skyfall is my second favorite Bond film. I think it's the best looking film in the whole franchise. But also, Sam Mendes did a really good job with the action sequences, but he also knew how to balance them with a really riveting story. This is kind of a weird Blu-ray, but it's The Social Network. I'm gonna pull it out so you can see it. Yeah, that's better. One of my favorite David Fincher films. I really like this movie. I love how it has just as much excitement as like a normal summer blockbuster, but all it is just conversations, and that's thanks to an amazing screenplay by Aaron Sorkin. Spirited Away is not only one of the best animated films ever made, I also think it's one of the best movies, period. Split was M. Night Shyamalan's triumphant return to form, and I think he did such an amazing job with this movie, but also James McAvoy as this character blew me away. Star Trek Into Darkness is a movie that I only own because it was like really cheap somewhere when I got it. It is a really good movie though. I just haven't felt the need to rewatch it. Alright, now let's talk Star Wars. I own Rogue One. I own the original trilogy. I also own Force Awakens and Last Jedi. The original trilogy is like some of my favorite movies ever, but I actually don't watch these. I watch the despecialized editions. If you don't know what they are, you should definitely look them up. It's basically the theatrical cut. Someone made a fan edit of it and did the best they could to get it to Blu-ray quality, and that's the only way I watch Star Wars now. Rogue One I thought was kind of a mediocre movie. There were some things I liked about it, like in sheer scope and scale and direction. It feels like a Star Wars movie, but I just thought it had some really lifeless, dull, boring characters, and that's the only reason I don't like it as much as some of the other films. I've already talked about Force Awakens and Last Jedi on my channel. I love both of these movies. I don't understand the hate for Last Jedi. I think it's a great movie. But anyway, yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't own the prequels because I don't like them, but I could see myself picking them up soon before Episode 9 comes out because I'll probably watch all the Star Wars films again. Super 8 is a really cool movie. It's kind of like J.J. Abrams and Steven Spielberg paying homage to like what they love about the 80s and stuff in a film. And yeah, it's really entertaining. Swiss Army Man was my favorite movie of 2016. This is such a unique and original movie, and I haven't seen anything like it. It's very entertaining. It has my favorite performance from Daniel Radcliffe ever, and it's just a really great movie. You should definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Terminator and Terminator 2 are some really fantastic action movies from the 80s and 90s. I definitely like the second one a lot better than the first one, but the first one I think doesn't get enough credit because it's a really low-budget movie. But if you take into account what they were able to accomplish with what they had, they did a really good job. The second one's like one of the best action movies ever. But yeah, these are two films that have stood the test of time. There Will Be Blood, Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the best performances of all time. Thor: The Dark World and Thor: Ragnarok. I don't really like the second one at all. The only reason I have it is because it was really cheap at some like video store in like where I live. And I was watching all the Marvel movies again, so I just felt like buying it. Thor: Ragnarok, however, is one of the best Marvel movies ever. It's just pure, unadulterated fun. It is absolutely fantastic. One of the best experiences I've had with a Marvel movie. You think this is the real Quaid? It is. Total Recall is not really a good movie at all, but I like it for Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's hilarious. I love him. So yeah, I own this. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about that one. Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. I don't own the first one because I haven't been able to find a good deal on it anywhere. It's really expensive wherever I've gone. Anyway, this is like one of the best trilogies ever made. I love all three of these films. When Marnie Was There is a film that absolutely destroyed me. This is a very mature anime that focuses on some of the darkest emotions that kids can go through. And it's definitely one that you should check out if you haven't seen it before. The Wind Rises is another terrific film from Studio Ghibli. I enjoy watching it for the animation and the beautiful romance story. Whiplash, one of my favorite movies of all time. It has terrific directing, acting, writing, cinematography, editing. It's just like everything I love wrapped up into a film. Wonder Woman, despite what I've said about it before, it's kind of an average movie. I watched it again recently and it's fine. I mean, I do think Chris Pine and Gal Gadot are really good in this movie, and it's got some fun action sequences. But overall, I think it's kind of overrated. It's still fun though. Definitely the best thing the DC universe has done. The last Edgar Wright film in my collection, The World's End. This movie is so clever and witty and hilarious. It has amazing performances all across the board. And some people would say it's not quite as good as Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. And I might agree with that, but this movie is just so smart and funny. All of the X-Men films, minus Apocalypse, because for whatever reason I just haven't gotten around to buying that. I love these films. I think X2... Actually, maybe Days of Future Past is my favorite. Either Days of Future Past or X2. Those are like my favorites in this franchise. First Class is also great. I kind of like the Wolverine, and X-Men 3 and X-Men Origins Wolverine are definitely the worst in the series. But yeah, I enjoy watching these films for the characters. And finally, Zootopia. This is a very mature animated film that focuses on really hard topics like racism and acceptance and that kind of thing. And it really surprised me. This movie is really good. Well guys, that's everything I own. Those are all my Blu-rays. Thank you so much for watching this far. I know this is probably going to be a really long video, but I really do appreciate you guys for watching my channel. Again, thank you so much for 100 subscribers. That means so much to me. And since my collection's always growing, would you like to see any more videos of this in the future, like in a year or so, and I got a bunch of new stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you so much for listening to me ramble. I love just an excuse to talk about all these movies. So yeah, also be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.